Welcome, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I thought I'd take this episode to kind of reintroduce myself to you, take you on my own personal spiritual journey, and specifically the Reiki journey. I promise it's not going to be long and drawn out with every little detail. However, I will make it concise and related to why I am doing this podcast. Everything that we need in life finds a way to us. I believe that this is the same with Reiki. For me, it came at a time when I was piecing together my sharded life after a bad relationship breakup. You know, those relationships where you put your heart and your soul into it and sacrifice your own emotional well-being because you don't know any better. Or perhaps you do know, but you stay for the narcissistic ride in hopes that things will change. Trust me, they don't. I've been on a few of those rides. Towards the end of the relationship, I was the one that grabbed a few things and left because I was betrayed enough and cheated upon just way too much. And I felt as if someone else was working through me and forced my hand to leave, something or someone more powerful than myself. But it still wasn't easy. I was an emotional wreck. I felt broken, gutted. Did you ever feel that way? Well, I hope not. It's really hard to forget that feeling and what you go through. It was a feeling for me of hopelessness, of loss, and my heart was just shattered. Fortunately, I had a place to live. Yes, the time when I went back to my parents' house. My mom already had passed away a few years earlier. I was about 26 when she passed. And that was also another shattering event, but I was still healing from that. But fortunately, I had my dad and my sister at home, and they were my support system. Looking back, I realized that I had to go through this episode, this situation, this challenge. I had to understand my role in the breakup. I had been married, divorced at the time, had some challenges when I was younger related to feelings of abandonment and self worth that I realized post traumatic breakup. But in the end, it led me to the path or paths that I needed to be on. Plus, this guy didn't want to have children. I was ready to give that up, my dream of being a mom. But for what? For who? For a superficial relationship? Once I realized that, I never looked at that breakup the same again. I needed to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. During that time, I began my yoga journey. I poured myself into books about meditation, yoga, self help. And let me tell you, the self help section of the bookstore or library in the mid 90s wasn't as robust as it is today. But I stumbled upon a few good ones, and these have become classics in my own library and also in the libraries today. And they gave me a foundation and structure for learning about my own journey, what the journey that I needed to be on. And this is when I met a yoga teacher and Reiki master. His name was Alex. And I will only describe him based on his energy. So picture a soothing blue light of energy that when you are near it, it comforts you like a blanket or macaroni and cheese or whatever comforts you. You felt, or I felt, a calm in his presence, and his energy spoke volumes. When he spoke of Reiki, I was curious. I didn't understand it, but I was drawn to it, drawn to learning more about it and even experiencing it. I remember him explaining what it was and what I would see, or that I would see things differently in the coming days. There would be more brightness, things would be more vivid, the colors would be more bright. I was all for it. As I laid in the semi conscious state, allowing Reiki to flow through me, I saw a vision of my mom. And as I mentioned, she passed away about 6 years prior from cancer. She came down, I saw her coming down from a higher place with her hands in prayer. And as she got closer to me, I saw her hands open, and in them were two baby bottles. I will never forget that. It was the first time my mom came to me in a vision or a dream And she showed me that one day I would have twins. And yes, I have identical twin boys. From that day, I knew I was going to have twins. I felt it in my soul. I would say to myself, I'm going to have twins. I was probably around 33 at the time. No boyfriend, just this knowing. And I always wanted to be a mom. As I said, I'm meant to be a mom. And it would be a few years before I would have my twins at the age of 41 and naturally. But that's another story for another time. And do twins run in my family? Yes. So my odds were increased. But to see that vision, a vision that felt so real, it gave me one thing, and that was hope. And with that hope, I continued to work on myself, to let go of past limiting beliefs about myself and all the conditioning from previous relationships. All it takes is an event or a series of events that keep nudging you in the direction you need to go. And of course, I sought professional help because the wounds were deep, but the wounds healed. And I learned how to heal those wounds. As I reflect back on that session, that Reiki session, I realized that that brightness Alex mentioned as a byproduct of Reiki was more light upon my path and my life. Everything just seemed much more brighter and lighter. I just wanted to mention that in the mid 90s, Reiki wasn't a common term like yoga or ramen. It was mysterious, and it is still to many, but that didn't scare me. I knew that it would heal me on some level, and it did. Some of you may have had a Reiki session or sessions and understand the deep healing that can take place. Even one session can work on healing deeply rooted wounds that you may not even know about or remember. As William Rand said in my previous episode, Reiki heals on all levels. And several years later, when I did have my twin boys, I became a Reiki practitioner myself. But I will share why and more details around that story in another episode. But my intention in sharing this particular story is to connect with you on a more personal level so that you know I've experienced the hurt, the pain, and the process of understanding my role in actively pursuing ways to piece back the parts that were broken. And I'm not saying that the Reiki session put all those pieces back, but it encouraged me to move ahead and validated the path I was on. If you have a personal Reiki story, I would love to hear from you. And if you would like to learn more about Reiki, you can listen to season 2, episode 15 of Chat Off the Mat, Reiki Energy Defined. You can also listen to my interview with William Lee Rand, president and founder of the International Center for Reiki Training. Until next time, this is Rose Wippich, sending you love, light, and great energy.